Welcome back to ABC News Live. I'm Phil Lipoff. After weeks of buildup, Russia has, as you know now, launched a full-scale attack on Ukraine. Overnight, explosions echoed through the capital of Kyiv after Vladimir Putin declared the start of what he calls a special military operation. I'm just across the border in Lublin, Poland, where today we witnessed a spontaneous show of support from Ukrainians living here. Take a look. Singing a Ukrainian song called War That's Not Yours, a couple hundred people gathered at a square in the heart of Lublin, Poland. They chanted in support of their homeland, not terribly surprised and yet still stunned that Ukraine is under attack. These women with a message for the world. Their town was bombed today.
That was kind of scary because I woke up because of the news that my town was bombed and the whole Ukraine was under the fire.
Where is your town? In the eastern part?
Yeah, like Donbass.
Oh, it's in the Donbass region?
Yeah. So it's basically like...
So you've been dealing with this
for all these 8 years we were...
Right, but did you ever think Vladimir Putin would bring his people in and claim the territory?
Well, everyone expected that, to be honest. It was just a matter of time.
As their voices rise in defiance, their hearts, they say, are broken. This woman is from Volyn in western Ukraine, struggling through tears, speaking the language of the very country that is attacking hers.
Наверное, главное, это чтобы все об этом знали. И, к сожалению,
She tells us the world must see what's happening and come to help. Though this young woman is living and studying here in Lublin, she doesn't think anyone can stop Vladimir Putin. In fact, she's considering leaving Poland, as she thinks the NATO ally could be next on Putin's list.
Poland's next.
You think?
Yeah,
Poland's
he's
next.
mentioned it before. Oh, maybe not directly next, but he's mentioned that he wants to get Poland. I mean, Lublin is quite in danger because we're taking a lot of Ukrainian people. We've got apartments ready. We're close to the border. So no, Poland's going to get it if he gets through Ukraine.
A terrifying and dark thought, but understandable on this day. Still, this group has hope. That song they're singing poignantly starts with these words. Battle at dawn, sun and smoke. Few know how it will end. What will be in the young minds tomorrow? Some will have hope, some will fear. A lot of national pride from Ukrainians living here in Poland. Again, that just kind of grew up around us out in the square behind me, and it was really remarkable to see the genuine sorrow and sadness they're feeling because they love their homeland and can't cross the border because it's too dangerous right now, Kira.
But a lot of hope, too, right, Phil? I mean, you've now been there for a few days. I mean, you touched down and it was go the minute you did get there. Kind of give me your overall impressions. You finally had a chance to get out into the square and take part and get to meet a lot of the different types of people that are gathered. Just your overall impressions as you've been covering this since you've been there this week.
Well, Kira, today was specifically odd because it's a holiday here in Poland. It's Poland's version of Fat Tuesday. They call it Fat Thursday. And there were lines, dozens deep, of people waiting for donuts to indulge before Lent. And as we went down those lines, we talked to every single person. And as they're living their life and they're out and they're shopping and they're holding hands and they're walking with their kids, we saw a lot of children out in the square today. On their minds, one man told us, I can't stop thinking about it all day long. So they're living their lives here in Poland, but they know what's happening at the border. They know how many Ukrainians are going to need to come here for shelter, for safety, and yet it's kind of business as usual right now in this area of Poland.
It has to be, right? I mean, you think of so many war zones that we've been in, the stories that we've covered, and, you know, everyday people are trying to live everyday lives in the midst of these various crises that they experience. And so as you try to balance both out, I know they talk about the politics with you as well. They talk about the personal impact. But how do they feel about the United States and NATO and the response to Vladimir Putin at this point and how it's just impacting not only their livelihood, but what their future may look like?
Well, we heard a lot of folks talking today, and they start with NATO. They don't start with the United States. They say NATO needs to act here. NATO, the United States, the EU, all these groups putting sanctions on Vladimir Putin. It's different from region to region, right? So here in Poland, these folks have been dealing with Vladimir Putin forever. And there's a history with Poland and Russia, and it goes back a long time. And the folks here, they think Vladimir Putin is capable of anything. And as we've seen, Ian was talking about, Ukrainians a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, didn't think Vladimir Putin would be trying to take all of Ukraine. And Poles here, the Polish people here, never thought that it would be possible that Vladimir Putin might come across the border into Poland, into a NATO allied country. But today we heard from people, well, he's that close to the border. His troops are in Lviv. That's, an hour from the border. And they're concerned that this might be next. That's a whole other conversation.
Oh, it is. And for the President of the United States as well. He said if indeed that were to happen, if Russia were to move into any NATO countries, the U.S. will be involved in an entirely different way. Phil Lipoff there on the ground for us in Poland. Phil, thanks so much. And ABC News Live's continuing coverage of the Ukraine-Russia crisis will return in just a moment. Don't go far.